So I gotta ask, is this the best episode of the Tournament of Power thus far? Because I ain't gonna lie, from the beginning of the episode, when we just seen Hit and Dyspo going at it, like even before they start throwing hands, it was already intense. But when you get to the actual action, oh my gosh, the intensity of this episode, it was just like, and I think this is one of the cases where, because you know, with some shows, and Dragon Ball is not an exception to it either, when you don't have the main cast around, at times it can get a little stale, a little boring, and it can fall apart. This one, up until, I want to say, the halfway point of the episode, maybe even further than that, we didn't have Goku, we didn't have anybody really from Universe 7, it was mainly Hit and Dyspo. We've seen a little bit of the Pride Troopers, we've seen Khalifa and Kale on the sidelines, hiding or whatever, but like, we didn't have any of the main Universe 7 members. And it was still really awesome, and it was still really intense. And if it wasn't for the Universe 6 tournament that we had, where Universe 7 and Universe 6 fought, you know, arcs ago or whatever, I don't think I would have felt the same way about this episode, because that's where we got a lot of the build-up and a little bit of the introduction to Hit. And then, of course, we had that episode where Goku and Hit went at it, or it was 2 episodes, that also gave us a little bit more of an understanding of how Hit continues to progress with his powers and his time skip or whatever. So, like, I think those episodes helped immensely to make us care about this episode. And it's always an interesting thing, and I talked about this in one of my previous videos, where somebody that was the big baddie, or the big strong dude, you know, the number one, that's the dude to defeat or whatever, becomes like, not necessarily the underdog, but when we get to like an arc or 2 later, they, all of a sudden, they're not the big baddie, you know what I'm saying? They're not the big number one strong guy. Like, I think at this point, it's a fair assessment to say, obviously, that that's Jiren. Jiren is now what Hit was in the Universe 6 arc, you know, the strongest number one guy. That's who Jiren is now. So Hit has been, you know, not necessarily even downplayed. It's just like, hey, there's people that are stronger and faster and all that good stuff, even more so than Hit. Now, Hit versus Dyspo. Oh my gosh, if you wanted strategy in a fight, then this one executed it brilliantly. I would argue when Goku showed up, it was a little bit like, okay, you know, I guess they really want to have somebody like Goku, or, you know, somebody from Universe 7 at some given point be relevant in the episode, but like, it really didn't need Goku, honestly. Obviously, he needed him as far as story goes, but the entertainment factor, the strategy, the quality of the structure of the fight was awesome. You know what I'm saying? Goku showing up, yeah, Hit needed somebody to bail him out and help him out a bit, because he was getting fucked, he was getting jumped and shit like that. So, in that regard, okay, yeah, you know, you need somebody, but the episode itself was carrying on immensely and greatly fine without Goku. It was great. Like, Hit was kicking ass, he was getting his ass kicked, and I love that too, where, because at this point, you could argue that Hit kind of feels like, you know, he's one of us now, you know, he's a protagonist, he's not a bad guy anymore, well, to a certain degree, so we're rooting for Hit, even though at one given point we were rooting against him, we were rooting for Goku, obviously, but in the fight against Dyspo, which it seems as though, even though at the end of the episode, one more of the Pride Troopers got eliminated, they still have what seemingly is their 3 main guys. They have Jiren, they got Topo, and they got Dyspo. The other dude, I forget his name, Chumi, I don't fucking remember his name, but like, he was, his power was just, you know, the minds and creating those strings using his energy and shit like that. It was like, whatever, he wasn't all that, to be honest with you. He was just good at helping Dyspo, which I guess in this element, in this arena of, hey, you get thrown off the stage, you're fucked, you know, you lose, his powers were, you know, worthy there. But as far as being a capable fighter, it was like, bro, the Pride Troopers really haven't been all that. If it's not Jiren, if it's not Topo, and now Dyspo, the rest of them have been scrubs. And honestly, Dyspo is just that he has really good ears, and he could counter against Hit's time skip. But aside from that, like, Dyspo, he got the speed, but he doesn't really seem like he's the most formidable. So I think in order of strongest to weakest, as of what we've seen right now, it's more than likely, again, Jiren, Topo, and Dyspo. Those are in order from greatest to weakest between the 3 of the Pride Troopers. But Pride Troopers, again, as a whole, they haven't really been like the greatest or the strongest, honestly. It's like, maybe those 3 are, but the rest of them have kind of been like somewhat scrubs to a certain degree. And Goku using the God mode, we haven't seen in a while. Now, I will say one thing, they didn't explain it really that well. I think we got like a line or 2. I mean, I personally understood it, because if you read the manga, then I think it was an easy thing to understand, because it did the same thing that the manga did, where essentially Goku uses that form because it doesn't use as much stamina, as much energy as the Super Saiyan Blue form, but when he needs the power of the Blue, because this is something that I think we need to address real quick. Super Saiyan Blue is stronger than Super Saiyan God. The thing is, it's more convenient and it preserves energy to use the God mode, but they did something similar to, again, what happened in the manga, and the Zama's arc, they did this in the manga, where Goku would be in the normal red God mode, and then switch when he needs, you know, the strength quickly to, like, fight or whatever, to throw a punch, into the blue mode, get that strength, and then go back to the God mode, so it preserves a great amount of energy. So that's the best way, and if you didn't understand what the episode explained it, there you go. That's pretty much what he was doing. The God mode is obviously nothing new, but it was nice to see, again, a lot more strategy. I think this episode handled that very, very well, and I really loved it and appreciated to see strategy. You know, a lot of shonen anime, a lot of shonen manga, they don't really give you all of that. It almost felt like, to a small degree, obviously, Hunter x Hunter goes way above and beyond, but it kind of felt like a Hunter x Hunter type of fight. Like, honestly, a lot of strategy involved. Hit trying to figure out how Dyspo is figuring out his time skip and trying to, you know, maneuver around it and confuse Dyspo. Then Goku using his God mode and jumping into the blue mode real quickly and jumping back. Like, a lot of strategy in this episode, and I can always appreciate that because I like a fight that is more than just, yo, I'm throwing punches, yo, I'm throwing blasts, which, you know, that's all fine and dandy once in a while, but when you get into, like, some technical shit, you get into strategy, this episode nailed it. This episode had a really nice, not necessarily completely dark, but it had a really good dark feel to it, where his back was against the wall 90% of the episode. You know, Dyspo had him against the wall. He had to try and trick Dyspo. If it wasn't for that one piece of shit, he would have had Dyspo by himself. Whatever, Dyspo would have already been out. But it was still like, holy shit. Like, if Hit is struggling, you know that there's some serious shit going on here. These are some serious fighters. And I think that's why they were doing that as well. I think it's a classic thing that they normally use Vegeta for. And I'm sure they'll use Vegeta at some given point in the Tournament of Power to do this as well. Well, let's show if one of the big dogs that is somewhat close to Goku is struggling, Goku isn't going to have it easy, which is what they were trying to show. Like, if Hit was struggling against Dyspo, and Jiren and Toppo are way stronger than Dyspo, then Goku's going to have a problem. And even Goku was kind of a little bit having a struggle somewhat, but one of the best moments, where I wouldn't say it was the best moment, and I wouldn't say that it stole the episode either, but hands down one of my favorite moments, I guess I'll say, is when Goku was going straight through the minefield and saying, I don't care, and he went and fucked that dude up. I was like, that was hype. That was hype, and I think it was a good move that Universe 7 and 6 are helping each other out from time to time, like what happened with Caulifla and Kale, and, you know, right now Goku and Hit. It's a good move for them to work together. They already are familiar with each other. They know that they're not really, really bad people, except Frost. Fuck Frost and fuck Frieza too. Like, if what with them, it's a good move for them to work together, so that way they could reach a common goal of, hey, we need to, you know, survive. You know what I'm saying? Even though in the end, when they got to throw down, it's going to be interesting to see how that works. You know, it's like, well, it's just us, but honestly, I'm imagining Universe 6 will, at some given point, get, you know, eliminated. Not fairly early on, because we already had a couple of universes go out the window, but they won't make it to the end. It's not going to be Universe 6 versus 7. It's going to be, more than likely, Universe 7 versus Universe 11, unless there's another universe that comes out and shocks us. I mean, who's left in Universe 6? We haven't even seen the two Namekian guys that are supposedly on the team. Like, Botamo got thrown out, which fuck Botamo. Frost is still around, so there's still some people, but if Hit is the #1 guy, and he's already weakened, Caulifla and Kale are weakened, it's like, they're in trouble. they're in big trouble, so I don't see Universe 6 lasting that much longer with Hit being already damaged, Kale and Caulifla being damaged. Is like, how long will they last? Overall, honestly, I want to say that I'm going to go balls deep and say this was the best episode of the Tournament of Power thus far. I didn't need all the other characters from Universe 7, even though sometimes it's awesome to see them. It didn't need that. Hit versus Dyspo carried the episode very well, and Goku's entrance into it, it was good, but it wasn't even really necessary as far as, like, carrying the attention of us while watching it, because it was like, it was already great. It's just that the story required for somebody to bail out Hit, because he was getting jumped, and Goku's entrance with the red mode. I will say that the God mode, it would have been cooler if it was like, hey, you know, this is really, really useful, which I guess it is, and the strategy was good, but it wasn't like that shock factor. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah, he's in God mode. He hasn't used that since Battle of Gods, but yeah, why not, bro? Kind of curious what you guys think about it. Again, top question, was this the best episode of the Tournament of Power? Do you think that Hit versus Dyspo alone carried the episode fine? And even if we didn't get any Goku, it still would have been an amazing episode. What did you think about the God mode being reintroduced into the series? Do you feel as though it was a good strategy? How did you feel about the strategy as a whole in all of this? Hit versus Dyspo, having to, you know, figure out how he's trying to get over his time skip and all this shit. Like, so many good things about this episode. For an action-packed episode, I think they did a phenomenal job, and it was really cool as hell to see Goku and Hit teaming up together, and it did a good job. your overall thoughts of the episode. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.